Main Event Madness proudly presents, coming to you from the land down under, Sydney, Australia, and Naugatuck, Connecticut in the US of A. This is Wrestling's Rope Break. Here are your hosts, Joel the Man O'Brien and Eron the Mastermind Ramadanov.
Well, hello wrestling fans and welcome to Wrestling's Rope Break. Everything pro wrestling by the count of five. It is April 24th, 2015 here on Main Event Madness Radio. And I am Joel the Man O'Brien, coming to you like I always do from the land down under, Sydney, Australia. And joining us like he does every single week from here on out is my partner in crime, ProWrestlingPowerhouse.com's editor-in-chief, Eron the Mastermind Ramadanov. And Eron, have you prepared your video for Triple H to check out for Tough Enough yet?
Oh, you betcha. I bought a whole replica of Triple H's outfit, and I got a water bottle. And...
Did you get that tattoo done? That was all over our Facebook page?
Definitely, yeah.
For a second, I actually thought you were being serious.
No, I'm not that stupid.
Listen, I know how much of a Triple H fan you are, so I was a little bit worried. I think the whole community was a little bit worried. That's why it was blowing up with comments.
I'm planning on getting eventually getting the, if you remember, Triple H had this certain kind of skull in like 2006 when he adopted that King of Kings gimmick.
Yes, leading up to WrestleMania 22, I think.
Yeah, I'm thinking about getting that on my forearm or something. So
okay, something small. Yeah, I could kind of see it happening. Well, we're going to be here with you for the next hour and a half, maybe talking the state of the WWE and NXT. We're going to be talking our brand new Monday Night Wars re-grilled segment where we compare Monday Night Raws and Nitros from 1996 onwards. We're going to be doing that every single week for you guys. Plus, we have so much more to talk about, and we're going to be doing it exclusively on Main Event Madness Radio. So we're going to be trying out some new things this week, as you can tell, some new segments. So we want your feedback on the Facebook page. What do you think about the show? Do you like it? Do you not? Is there some things you want to see more than others? Facebook.com/Wrestling'sRopeBreak and on Twitter @WrestlingRBreak. But let's not waste any time, Eron. Let's get straight into the state of WWE Address. What is really good in WWE right now? What's bad? We're leading into Extreme Rules. We're almost we're less than a week away, actually, live on the WWE Network. And I have to say, I haven't been blown away by this build, but at the same time, there's a lot going on. Substance-wise, every match has a story. Every match has a reason for it coming together. So that's always a positive in my book. I guess I'm kind of excited for Extreme Rules. Are you, Eron?
I mean, not necessarily. I mean, excited is I guess a strong word. I'm content right now. I think that after this pay-per-view, we're going to get into some different storylines, different feuds.
Exactly.
A lot of this is just kind of rehash from WrestleMania. But once we get into Payback, I think we'll get some new feuds and some new storylines,
Speaking of new storylines, well, actually not speaking of new storylines at all. There's one that's kind of it's grinding my gears a bit, and it's you know where I'm going with this, don't you?
Yeah, I do.
You do. Roman Reigns left WrestleMania 32. Well, sorry, 31. I just cut this out. Roman Reigns left WrestleMania 31 with a ton of steam. I was blown away by what I saw live in San Jose, California, in regards to Roman Reigns versus Brock Lesnar. They put together the most perfect match where Roman Reigns looked like an absolute badass, went through the meat grinder via Brock Lesnar, but at the same time he had a legitimate reason to be pissed off because Seth Rollins stole his victory. There is a genuinely great story and a great character to build off from that. The tough-ass Samoan that just didn't take no for an answer. What have they ever done with him since? They've given him the Big Show. Again. Mm-hmm. Now, we all remember how great that rivalry was leading up to WrestleMania, don't we? Oh, it's stellar. It did so much for Roman Reigns' aura and character and elevation into that main event picture. I'm pretty sure it actually did more to damage it than anything else. And now we're going to do it again. This is a big example of WWE spinning its wheels. I really hope WWE kind of fixes it, because I thought Roman Reigns was kind of like, the poster boy for the next generation, and I don't know if this is helping him at all. Obviously, he's going to beat the Big Show like he did before, but apparently this is new for WWE fans. Is it, Aaron?
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of on a different spectrum here, because I think
it's so bad.
I don't know, because I think for Roman Reigns, somebody who just lost in the main event of WrestleMania, I think WWE realized that they've got to kind of reset with him, because you and I have talked about it going into WrestleMania that he doesn't seem as ready as we thought he was, and he's kind of he's just he's not ready yet. And then I think they've realized that. I think this is their way of pulling him back a little bit and putting him in a feud with Big Show, who the hardcore fans don't like him, casual fans don't like him. They just want him to retire, and I think that's a big thing for Reigns, because I don't know if anybody's going to be cheering for Big Show in this match, which kind of helps Reigns in a lot of ways of getting some kind of follow-up again from the hardcore fans and fans all over.
I will say this, he is getting much better within his matches, his promos. I feel that the character's kind of turned a corner. And you know what? I should have had faith in WWE figuring this out, because they usually do in the end, and they really did a tremendous job pushing him at WrestleMania 31. And I think the character has benefited from that. I want now a good direction for this character to go. I want him to be involved with someone that's interesting, that not treading water that was a few months ago. I want something fresh. I want something new. Maybe after Rusev loses the US title to John Cena again, maybe we do that a rivalry and follow that through, because I think that could be some definite kind of new ground to tread.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's definitely a possibility. But as far as Big Show and Reigns goes right now, I think Big Show is probably the best possible scenario right now out of anybody on the roster to feud with, just on the basis that he's going to get over. He's going to go over on Big Show. He has to. I mean, if he doesn't, that's just going to be – I don't see why. The only way – now, this is me putting my crazy conspiracy hat on, but Bray Wyatt has been, doing his promos, and the last one he did, he mentioned, strong, big muscles. He mentioned failures. He mentioned heritage. I can only imagine that maybe Bray Wyatt somehow costs Roman Reigns this match, and they feud going into the summer, because the promo he delivered on Raw had a lot of Roman Reigns, I guess character traits. Some people are either saying Reigns or Ryback. It could be either or. But
Ryback, yeah.
Yeah. So
Ryback.
I mean, it could be. We could go either way. Just telling people to keep an eye on that. But I think Reigns is going to go over here. I think this is going to be a good thing for him. Taking down a 7-foot giant in a last man standing match. I mean, it can only help, right?
No. I honestly don't want to see this anymore. I want it off my television, and it has a lot to do with Big Show, I guess, wanting to be off my television. I'm done. I'm done with this feud. It was horrible before, and I've got no. You can put Roman Reigns through 1 billion cars in London. I still don't care. I just don't care. And I need something fresh for Roman Reigns. This guy went through one of the biggest moments in his career. I need some kind of follow through that merits that, and I'm not seeing it with the Big Show. But we digress. So the state of WWE Address is how we're going to break it down. Who are the champions right now? What's involved? We're going to just kind of break it down that way. So the WWE World Champion right now is obviously Seth Rollins. That could change this coming Sunday at Extreme Rules when he versus Randy Orton inside a steel cage where the RKO is actually banned as well. Now, we'll say about the main event picture at the moment. They're doing a great job kind of creating a lot of interest and heelness around Seth Rollins, really enforcing that quite well. At the same time, I think they've done a great job building up Randy Orton. Obviously, there was a lot of a cooling off period after he turned babyface and rejoining the Authority in that really weird storyline. It was just a really... it was almost like a storyline that needed to be told for the sake of doing a storyline. But I think they've kind of rehabilitated themselves. I think they did a great job with Randy Orton doing the whole IKO everywhere, all over the show, and then finally getting Rollins at the end. What do you think about the progression of Seth Rollins post-Mania? And obviously Randy Orton at the same time. You think he's on the road to greatness here?
Well, I think Randy Orton's obviously probably the most over babyface in the company right now. And if I would have asked you who would be the most over babyface in the company right now after WrestleMania, say 2 months ago, I doubt anyone would say Randy Orton. And he's really come a long way. They've handled his progression really well. since WrestleMania. He's been handled perfectly, RKOing everyone in sight, and everyone loves the RKO. So, obviously that's going to work. As far as Seth Rollins goes, I feel like they've handled him really well, too,
I
because
agree.
he's coming across as this just brash, arrogant, cocky, almost chicken heel.
Oh no, he's an absolute chicken shit heel. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's great. I missed that kind of heel because we haven't seen it in such a long time, and I really kind of bring it back to, and of course, Eron's on the show, so he has to bring it back to Triple H somehow. But this reminds me a lot of the young Triple H in the 1999 when he first won the title. Very chicken shit-esque as far as just being able to always just crawl away with the victory somehow. Same thing with Rollins. Hasn't really proven himself yet. No. And I like that the Authority have kind of distanced themselves away from Rollins and letting him do his own thing right now, especially with Triple H this week, really coming across as a babyface, a babyface authority figure, just kind of separating himself from Seth Rollins.
I think we bring up 2 good points there. I think, first of all, I think it's time to get Seth Rollins to prove himself to a degree, and why not have him just beat Randy Orton clean? I don't know. Obviously, there'll be some interference here and there because he's a heel, because J&J Security is at ringside. I would like a clean victory for Seth Rollins. I think, why not? Like, moving forward, I mean, this is just, it's almost like a transition pay-per-view. It's a backlash after WrestleMania. Why not just have him beat him and at least have some bragging rights, some legit bragging rights behind Seth Rollins, saying, well, at least I beat Randy Orton. I very much like, I don't know. I always think about heels getting legitimate wins at times where they should. I mean, I always think about Mick Foley losing to Randy Orton, of all people, at Backlash 2004 after WrestleMania 20 in that amazing hardcore match. It's like, well, that was a career-defining moment for Randy Orton. But even though he was a heel, he beat Mick Foley. Why can't the same happen for Randy Orton? And the second point you bring up is about the whole idea of Triple H and Seth Rollins and creating this little bit of a divide. And the feeling that I got for the last few weeks after WrestleMania is that Seth Rollins is getting a little bit too big for his britches. He's getting a bit too egotistical, and I think what's going to happen is Triple H's creation is going to kind of take over a bit, and Triple H is going to have to put him down eventually. And I think that could be maybe a SummerSlam kind of encounter if Brock Lesnar doesn't come back for the title. Who knows? There's a lot of kind of questions going into the summer, but that's definitely something that could happen.
Yeah, I think it's more. I think Triple H taking a more of a babyface approach is more of him trying, because with Tough Enough coming up, I think he's going to be not the face of that brand during the summer, but we're going to see him a lot as far as, he's almost going to play in Austin, what Austin did in 2011, not being the host of the show, but like when the Tough Enough cast appears on Raw or something, he'll be with them. Like, I feel like he's going to have to step away from that authority gimmick because he's got to be the, face of that brand. So I think that's kind of the biggest reason why he's kind of taking this, babyface role now. Yeah,
well, yeah, it's not definitely a babyface role yet, but you can easily have him as a babyface going in the future, and have Stephanie McMahon's a good enough heel to carry that kind of authority figure on her own. Doesn't really even need Triple H. But we move into the World Tag Team Championship picture. Obviously, the champions right now are Tyson Kidd and Cesaro. The division's kind of going through a state of flux. We've got a new tag team in the division, Lucha Dragons. They've had a tremendous amount of heat coming off their debut in San Jose, California, and I was there live to see their debut. And I tell you what, the fans are going nuts for Kalisto and Sin Cara, and you really definitely felt that this was a tag team to keep your eyes on. I will say firstly about the tag team champions, I have liked watching them rub shoulders with main event talent. I liked the handicap match against Randy Orton. Then I liked the subsequent tag team match against John Cena and Daniel Bryan. I thought it was good. I like the idea of taking these mid-card champions and having them rub shoulders with the main event picture more so than not. I mean, we've seen anytime the tag team titles have been associated with main event talent, be it Jerry Show, Jericho and Big Show, be it DX, be it Ray RKO. It always elevates the belts plus the people that they face in some way, shape, or form. On the other side of this, Aaron, I didn't like seeing Randy Orton beat the tag team champions on his own. I didn't like the fact that John Cena and Daniel Bryan beat the champions. It's just like, why not just give them the victory? In the handicap match, you got an outs because it's 2-on-1. Yeah. And on SmackDown, it's SmackDown. Why not give Kid and Cesaro legitimate wins? Why not? Just throw them a bone. And like, I guarantee you, after that week, watching that week and seeing that the tag team defeat Randy Orton and John Cena and Daniel Bryan in 1 week, like, boom, made team, isn't it?
That's tough because you want to protect the guy that's going after the world title in Randy Orton.
Yeah. You create a whole schmoz. You have Seth Rollins come out there. You have JJ Security come out there. Mm-hmm. There's some ways of getting around where they actually hit their finish and pin the guy 1, 2, 3. Like that exclamation point is an exclamation point for the career of Kid and Cesaro. I'm just saying, would have liked to see it last week, but it's the same old booking as long as Vince McMahon's there in regards to tag teams. You always got to establish that hierarchy.
Yeah. It's tough. It's hard to be able to, when you put the tag team champions in that situation, it's hard to book, obviously. But I do get what you're saying as far as, having an out somehow of making them look good, even ending the match early in a DQ, like, just starting to beat down the IC and US champions on SmackDown, like you said, SmackDown. So just beat them.
Just beat them. They're strong enough individually. Well, maybe not Daniel Bryan. We're going to get to him in a little bit, though. But John Cena's definitely he's winning every week and he's defending his title. Who cares? It's a tag team. Establish the tag team champions as the tag team to beat. I don't know. Yep. So the Intercontinental Championship. Daniel Bryan is currently our champion, but there's a massive question mark hanging over his head at the moment in regards to his career and longevity for 2015. This poor guy. I mean, I really feel for Daniel Bryan. He had an amazing a ladder match at WrestleMania 31. Great opener. Probably one of the best WrestleMania opens I've seen live. Just all action, and the guy that we wanted to win won the match. And I really feel that WWE has plans to make the IC title and the US title mean something. And obviously we're going to get to the US title in a second. But in regards to the Intercontinental Championship, it really doesn't feel like Daniel Bryan's had that chance, and unfortunately, I think he suffered a concussion. I think was it against Sheamus on that SmackDown before the European tour, Brian?
There's been a bunch of conflicting reports. They were saying that a lot of people believe that he got a concussion from Sheamus. Then I heard that he apparently didn't get a concussion. There's honestly no way to honestly know. I mean, there's been so many mixed reports. So
just very quickly, Aaron, I completely forgot. Do we like Seth Rollins' new finisher?
Oh,
have you seen it?
Yeah, I don't love it. I don't hate it either. Yeah, it's a
wacky DDT. I don't know what the hell is it.
Yeah, it's an inverted DDT, I guess. A lot of people are comparing it to Christian's kill switch, but backwards, I guess. It's really weird. Apparently they haven't banned the curb stomp. It's been encouraged not to be used. But I don't hate that idea because now Rollins can pull that out in extreme cases. Like, for example, I compared it to Randy Orton's punt.
Yeah, I was just thinking the same thing. Yeah.
Exactly, where he pulls that out in just extreme circumstances. Like if he uses it, down the line sometime when he really needs to beat Brock Lesnar or whoever, he can pull that out.
I have no idea why it's been banned. Maybe it had something to do with concussions.
It does,
but God damn it, that move was perfect for a main event talent superstar.
It really separated him from everybody else.
It separated him from everyone else. We haven't seen that move ever in WWE, and you can hit it from anywhere. You can hit it from the top rope. You can hit it from the floor. You can
hit it on anybody.
Exactly, at any time. From a down position, anytime. And it has that, that element of surprise and anticipation. Now, he doesn't have that. I just didn't like the move. It's like, he sets up for the buckle bomb. You're expecting the curve, so he hits this wacky DDT, and you're like, Anyway, I digress. I just needed to bring that up, obviously, because it was kind of topical. But Daniel Bryan, Doesn't sound like he's going to be at Extreme Rules defending his title against Wade Barrett, and it may not be there at Payback. I feel for Daniel Bryan, but I'm a long-time wrestling fan. I love him and I want to see him succeed, but I'm really getting into that mentality, that Cesaro-like mentality now. He's been given a chance, and now he got put into mid-card as Intercontinental Champion, and now he has these injuries. Personally, I'm kind of feeling like I'm kind of giving up on Daniel Bryan. I don't know. Maybe that's a little bit kind of premature, but Vince McMahon's self-fulfilling prophecy about him not being an A-plus player, that's reality, and I think it's kind of coming to fruition. What do you think?
Yeah, it's tough. I think this situation kind of stems outside of the wrestling, angle and more into real life. And Daniel Bryan's a young guy still, and he wants to be able to walk when he's 60 and all that stuff. So I think he's got to look in the mirror, and he went through this last year. He's got to be able to be okay with, if he does come back, he's got to be able to be okay with the fact that he could risk his life. And we saw, unfortunately, earlier this year, somebody else in Pero Aguirre Jr. Same thing, with the neck. So anything can happen, and I really just hope Daniel Bryan, if he does come back, I hope he really feels okay to come back and is okay with the consequences that could happen to him. And if not, I'm perfectly okay if he retires. I really am. Unlike everyone else, a lot of people are really upset that if he does retire, I would be perfectly okay if he retired, because it's his decision, obviously, and it's a big one as far as something, especially with the neck.
Yes.
I mean, we've seen it with Edge, we've seen it with Austin. So it's a really big decision. It's just sad for him because he's finally being given something to kind of run with the IC title and make it big, and this hits him out of nowhere. So,
and I think he was really in his comfort zone there. I think he would have been given time. He's a trusted performer. Whereas with the World Heavyweight Championship, let's be honest. I mean, he was given the title, but he was going to get that Rey Mysterio World Heavyweight Championship run. I mean, look at what they had planned for him. Kane and all those F-grade the horror movie flicks, the segments with Kane. I mean, come on. He was going to be tested to the nth degree with that stuff, and he was going to lose to Brock Lesnar anyway. So
Yeah. And the only thing I would say is that imagine if he did end up fighting Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania. I mean, imagine Lesnar hitting him with one of those German suplexes, and I'm just saying it's tough. I see where you're coming from. I think ultimately they made the right decision. I think that has the most to do with why Daniel Bryan wasn't featured in the main event as far as is his health, because I really think they were concerned if they put him in that match with Brock Lesnar, throwing him around like that. I'm just saying, I don't know what could have happened. So
yeah, exactly. Divas Championship. Obviously, Nikki Bella is currently our champion. Could be different come Extreme Rules versus Naomi. Mm-hmm. Now, Naomi's a heel. This is kind of weird when you think about it, because so Nikki Bella and the Bellas have been heels this whole time.
Yeah.
Naomi's just turned heel because she took out Paige. Now, Paige is selling an injury, so she's not competing at the pay-per-view. Now, Naomi's taking the spot, so it's heel versus heel. First of all,
now the Bellas are baby faces now, because on Raw they were they were so nice on commentary. Nikki Bella was like, "I'm so grateful for everything I have." I was just I was in a twilight zone. I was like, "What the hell is going on?"
You've got to be kidding me. That's just ridiculous. To be honest, I skip the Divas matches. I do sometimes, and for all our female fans that love the Divas division, I'm sorry. Nothing happens. But anyway, the whole point I want to bring up is we can discuss that for a later discussion, I'm sure.
We can discuss how Joel doesn't watch all of Raw.
Exactly. Well, it's 3 hours every week.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
It's taxing. It's freaking taxing after a long day at work. But Naomi, as a heel, obviously they're giving her something to do, and she's talented enough that they should do something with her while the Usos are injured, but while Jay's injured. But is she too nice to be heel? I don't know.
I mean, this is what we want, right? This is what people have been clamoring for: is new content, new storylines for every diva, right? And we've got one here. We've got something different.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, and what? They should try something with her, because I thought her inset promo was good last week. So this week on Raw, I thought she's got a lot of fire. So you know what, we'll see how it goes. But
she's still very green in all aspects, as far as promos and in the ring.
She's a good athlete. She's definitely
good athlete. Yeah, absolutely. I'm excited to see if they can put together a good 5-6 minute match. I mean, if they're given the time. I just don't like the fact that they've just turned the Bellas into baby faces, and what happens when Paige come back? Do they just become heels again? Like I don't, it's so weird.
That's what they do in WWE these days, Aaron. They just turn people. They just turn them. There's no build. There's no nothing. U.S. champion John Cena. Now I finally get to talk about this U.S. Championship challenge. This is how John Cena should be booked right now with the U.S. title. Go out there, defend the title, take people, have people take him to the limit, and he just wins by the skin of his teeth. It's great. Mm-hmm. It's good. It's great. It's the old school Rob situation. The main event Rob, losing by association. It's all that kind of stuff. Whoa, I heard a noise there.
Oh, damn, I was trying to... You're on a good rhythm. So
okay, good. But yeah, so there's a lot to love about this. Now that they've established this challenge kind of situation, now I think it'll be much more interesting after Rusev's out of the way. I can't believe I'm saying that, by the way. I thought Rusev and Cena have had some great series of matches and a great rivalry. But obviously now things are kind of cooling off. The Russian chain match is like, Rusev's barely been on television. So I'm kind of ready for this rivalry to be over. But now I want to see this US Championship challenge take it to the next level. I want the guys who wrestle Cena to have something afterwards, not just wrestle them once and disappear into the ether like Stardust has and Dean Ambrose has kind of been associated with something else. I want there to be some kind of follow-up. Either we have a series of challenges where John Cena is challenged by the same person again and they finally win the title, or have something where the announcers are talking about it next week, or interviewing Dean Ambrose, or something like that, where we don't forget about the match. I think there's a lot more that can be done with this. I think it's a good start. But, again, when you're looking at John Cena associating himself with the mid-cards, and that's another thing. I think John Cena should be wrestling mid-card guys only. I don't want to see him wrestle Kane. If you want to have him wrestle, a main event guy like maybe Roman Reigns down the line, like keep the title in the main event picture. Maybe save that for a pay-per-view. But for these challenge matches, have him wrestle your Luke Harpers, your Stardust, your Kofi Kingstons, your Big E's. Have him wrestle those people and give those guys good matches. Maybe not so much Kane this week. I mean, like, it's Kane. Cool, Kane's the US champion. I think it's definitely keep it in the mid card. What do you think?
Yeah, I think any feud that goes 3 matches, as far as like a best of 3 series, especially in this day and age, like maybe in the old days we can get away with it, but in today's WWE modern wrestling, it's really, really hard to keep people interested in a best of 3 series match where you have 3 straight pay-per-views.
I think that's the next that actually right there. That is the logical step to do. Really,
it is, but it's hard to keep people interested. I can't think of the last time a best of 3 series match has kept people interested the whole way through.
Oh, come on, Benoit.
Give me one.
Benoit and Booker T.
Years ago, recent.
When have they ever done it recently?
Well, recently we had Ambrose and Bray Wyatt, right? They they wrestled each other.
Oh, but that was
100 times. We had Bray Wyatt and Cena last year, right? We had Triple H and Lesnar the year before.
I'm saying, Aaron, you should define it like a best of 7 series for the US title. Say it's for that, and like have Cena wrestle. Just fantasy booking minds going crazy. But imagine like Cena and Luke Harper doing a best of 7 series, and have each match be different because both those workers are good enough that they can make their matches different and they can tell a good story within the 7 match time frame. I think that would be a fantastic kind of way of elevating that, and then having the young guy beat Cena in the end. That's why I would have it. But that's just me.
I'm just saying, I think best of 3 series, where you have 3 consecutive pay-per-views in a row of the same opponent, that's almost impossible in today's time period as far as keeping fans invested for that long. You know, we with Rusev and Cena, it's gone through Fastlane, WrestleMania, and now Extreme Rules. Does it have partly to do with the booking? Of course. But I think any feud you have go three matches long over 3 months, it's hard to keep people invested. You know, we saw it in 2013 with Orton and Daniel Bryan, where every month people are, this is so terrible. Oh, but people want long storylines. But then when they get it, they complain. So I'm just saying that the build of the last month of this feud hasn't been tremendous, but I'm somewhat looking forward to the match itself. I finally understand what the Russian chain match is. Until this past week, I had no idea what that is.
It's just a strap match.
Yeah, I know. I don't know why they couldn't have called it a strap match or give us. They waited until Monday night to tell us what the match is going to be.
No, they told us on SmackDown last week.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but I know, but it's on SmackDown. It's on SmackDown. Yeah. I know, but who watches SmackDown?
Exactly.
Why don't just very quickly? Why don't they just make it a Russian chain match like they did in the NWA, like in the 80s? It's two guys attached to a chain, and they have a wrestling match.
Exactly. Yep. That's what I thought it was.
Why does it have to be this bullshit? Got to attach four corners. Why don't they just like have a great match with a chain? You know, choke him with a chain, whip him with a chain, and that's the match. Yeah. Like, here's a crazy thing. Do you remember Kane versus Triple H for the Intercontinental title in a chain match?
I do.
From 2001. That was a great match. Mm-hmm. And it was just two guys wrestling for the title in a chain match. It was great. Anyway, I digress. Okay, so we're going to get into our hot prospects for WWE this week in our State of WWE Address. This every time we do this segment, we're going to be talking about who's hot right now, who's on the rise, who's going very well. At the same time, we're going to be talking about the cold prospects, who's not doing that well, who's on the descent that needs to kind of get back up there. So this week, like, first of all, Sheamus kind of comes to mind. Eron, what's your thoughts on this new and improved Sheamus? We haven't had a chance to talk about him.
I really like it. I mean, I'm like in the minority of somebody who I like the hair, I like the beard, I like the new music, I like the new attitude, I like the gimmick as far as him targeting like smaller guys. I think that mindset of Sheamus has a lot of legs and it can go on for a long time. I mean, he can just keep targeting small guys over and over again until he wipes them all out. I think that's really a gimmick that can last him a long time. And I like it overall. I really do. I think the music is great, that he kind of stands out there and the light hits him. And I don't know, everything about it, you know, I like. And I like that Ziggler's being the first one targeted because Ziggler kind of personifies what a underdog kind of is in WWE, as far as that guy that'll, you know, we saw it within the back end of 2014 where, you know, he was the guy that put out the authority, and he came back and he was that resilient superstar, and I like that he's kind of being paired with Sheamus. I think they'll put together a good match. But the only thing I'm just kind of wondering what the heck's going on is what the heck's a Kiss My Arse match?
It's the loser kisses the other's arse. And I don't know if I really want to see that.
Yeah, exactly. Like I thought it was a PG like environment. I don't know how they're going to even.
It is when Sheamus beats him, and obviously he will beat Ziggler, where he's going to like grab Ziggler's face and shove him into his ass. So it's going to be like that.
This screams Vince McMahon right here.
It does, but it's just I don't know if I want to see that. Just how these guys wrestle. These guys will. By the way, if we're talking about Extreme Rules, you know, these like Ziggler and Sheamus, I think these guys might steal the show in regards to a wrestling match. These guys have had some great matches in the past, and now you've got a heel Sheamus and a babyface Ziggler. Kind of the roles are reversed from their last matches. I think it's gonna be great. In regards to Sheamus, he looks different. He screams different. There's no one like him on WWE television right now. I saw his WWE.com interview during the week with Michael Cole. I think those things are really, really good. A really good chance to kind of get the other characters, you know, to kind of flesh themselves out. It's great. Really like him. I think he's got a lot of legs. I don't know if this gimmick will last, the whole like beating down underdogs for his whole career. I don't think it's going to last. Maybe get it out of the way in the next 2 months, 3 months, I'm not sure. And then put him up in that main event title picture. Have him win all the time, and then have him go for that WWE Championship later on, you know, once the title changes hands. Could you imagine Sheamus versus Brock Lesnar? I think that'd be great. I think that'd be a good match.
It'd be hard hitting.
It'd be hard hitting, and that's what we want to see. My hot prospect for this week can't believe I'm saying this, but for the first time I'm using this new segment for the show. I didn't think I was going to mention this guy as a hot prospect in 2015, but it's Kane.
Yeah.
Kane!
Yeah.
Kane pulling out some of his best work in his career over the last like 3 weeks, and the fans are going ballistic for this eventual confrontation between Kane and Seth Rollins.
Mm-hmm.
Like, turn back the clock about a month ago when we're bitching about Kane and the Big Show being in all these main events. Who would have thought that the fans would be clamoring to see Kane finally turn babyface and get his revenge against Seth Rollins for all his wrongdoings?
Yeah.
What the hell?
I know. I can't believe it either. And I'm one of those people. I really do want to see Kane get the mask back, get the jumpsuit, and then go after Seth Rollins. I want it. I want it so bad. And I think, and you're gonna lose your mind. You're gonna lose your mind. I actually think that after this match with Randy Orton, that they're gonna go with Kane and Seth Rollins at Payback.
Yeah. For the title?
Yeah, for the title.
You know what? If this is like a retirement match and like Seth Rollins, hey, you know what? I'm now the gears are kind of turning in my head. You know, if they do this whole like, I want you at the company, and I want if I beat you, you're fired, and it does that, and it creates a better foundation for Seth Rollins is a main event guy. You know, he beats Kane, the legendary Kane, and ends his career. I'm cool with that. But at the same time, I've got this sinking feeling that it's all ruse at Extreme Rules. This tension's all a ruse, and they're going to like gang up and beat the hell out of Randy Orton and cost him the title. I got this feeling, and if that happens, fuck WWE. That's just how I feel.
I think, like you said, if they're going down the route of like having Kane have one more like run as the Kane we all love, then that's fine with me. And if he's eventually actually going to retire and kind of going, and off into the sunset, then I'm cool with it. I have no problems with Kane getting one more run. But even if everything comes together at Extreme Rules and it is one big ruse, I could easily see the next night on Raw things just turning for real, and them moving forward like that.
Yeah, I think there's multiple ways you can go with it, but Kane in 2015 is like the focal point of what everyone's talking about this week, and it's just like I've been watching him since I started watching wrestling, and he's been with the company longer than that. Glenn Jacobs, great work this week, and I don't know this, I just can't believe it. Cold prospects for this week. The cold prospect for me is Damien Sandow. This poor fucker, like. He's lost to the Miz. He lost his chance of getting a really good push in the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royale. In retrospect, why couldn't he have just won the match? Really? Like, you really had to have the Big Show win that match?
I think he did. In that situation with those two, I think he did. Here's why. I'll tell you exactly why. What happened last year
with
Cesaro?
Bad.
No, what happened last year with Cesaro?
He won.
He won, and then expectations were clinged on to him as far as the year coming up.
Expectations for Sandow are different.
But if he won that match, then there'd be expectations of him moving up or doing whatever. When maybe they have no plans for that, and he doesn't fit anywhere into their plans.
I'll say this. The fact that Cesaro was treated, the descent into his career began after winning that match. It made that match not feel as special this time around. Hell, it was on the pre-show last year. It was featured on the card. Mm-hmm. I think the expectations for the winner this year was much lower than it was last year. And I think you talking about expectations, I would have expected maybe, I don't know, somewhere down the line, Sandow to maybe like end up with like maybe a secondary title. I don't know, or at least get a match or get associated with that main event, the mid card a bit more. I don't know. That's what I expect. I like Hideo Itami, for God's sake, should have won it this year. Like, do you see the stuff, the NXT specials they did on that? The NXT special that they did on Hideo Itami? Fantastic. Mm-hmm. If he won. He didn't win. What a geek. He didn't even get featured well. He got knocked out in the first 3 minutes.
All right, but we've got to remember that this WrestleMania this year, a lot of it is a setup for next year, right?
Yeah.
So I think Big Show winning the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal, I think that lasting image at the end of him standing next to the trophy, folding his arms next to Andre, was a really cool moment for me personally because I like that. I thought it was cool to see the two giants of our industry kind of side by side.
Sure.
Okay. And next year, I'm assuming Big Show is going to be in the Battle Royal, right? Defending his trophy. Whoever throws Big Show over, I'm assuming Big Show is going to be in the last two. It's going to be him and somebody else. Whoever throws Big Show over, that's going to put them over 10 times more than if Sandow were to have won this year and then Big Show is just in it next year. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think they were thinking long term as far as we can set this up for next year.
Yeah, true. Yeah, exactly. Who's your cold prospect for this week, man?
Rusev. It's got to be Rusev.
Ooh, I don't know if he's a cold prospect, is he?
He hasn't been on TV very much, and I don't know why. I mean, he's just kind of... I can't remember the last time he actually had a match.
He had a match at the Raw that I went to after WrestleMania.
He hasn't wrestled in a while. And I don't know where he goes after this U.S. title match. I mean, I'm assuming Cena wins, right? I think we're on the same page in that respect. Of course. And what does he do? What does he do next? He's in that same boat as Mizdow, where we don't know what he's going to do. What's next for him?
Yeah, I totally agree. I don't agree that he's a cold prospect. I just hope to God that they have something good planned for he and Lana. It sounds like they're not breaking up. I don't know. Maybe they are breaking up. Maybe that's going to be the storyline that's going to filter out after Extreme Rules. But I guess time will tell in that regard. I don't know if he's exactly a cold prospect. They haven't done very much. At least they haven't had him being beaten on television or anything like that. I mean, he hasn't featured prominently, which I think has hurt the US title match. But I just don't know. I don't know. I mean, I guess one of the other matches I'm kind of looking forward to is very quickly, Luke Harper and Dean Ambrose in that street fight. That's going to be a dark horse match of the night, as far as I'm concerned. Those two guys together, brawling, weapons, psychology. Chicago. Yeah, I think could be definitely an opener maybe for the pay-per-view, but I think it's gonna be Dean Ambrose winning. I don't know why they feel the need to beat Luke Harper all the time. He is so much better than just being a mid-card jobber, because that's what he is. He barely wins any matches. I was there at San Jose, California to see the tapings. They taped some superstar matches beforehand. Luke Harper lost to R-Truth. What? It's just ridiculous. But okay, guys, that is the state of the WWE address. A lot to talk about there. A lot to consider with Extreme Rules on the horizon. In fact, next week we're going to be doing the state of NXT. What's good, what's bad, who's really on the rise there? How's the NXT title picture looking? How's the women's division? How's that growing? We're going to be talking about that next week. And I know Aaron's very excited about this. We're going to be doing the state of TNA Impact next week as well. You looking forward to that, buddy?
Can't wait.
I think NXT and Impact are doing a really, really good job. But obviously, it all depends on the episode that we see next week. So hopefully it's going to be a good one. So that's going to be coming to you next week. Probably the episode's going to be Saturday, 9 p.m. Eastern on Main Event Madness Radio. Something to look forward to for that. Okay, we're going to take a quick break. And then when we come back, we're going to be getting into the Quintessential Podcast for the week. And it's going to be Chris Jericho interviewing the legendary William Regal. So stay tuned, and we'll be right back.
So you're cruising around the internet looking for some entertainment. What if I told you there's a hard-hitting, fresh, and opinionated podcast out there covering everything from WWE and TNA to the NFL, the NBA, and MLB? Well, that's reality. Main Event Madness is here. Don't miss us every week on MainEventMadness.com as well as on TuneIn Radio and Stitcher.com. Main Event Madness, our wrestling, your sports, simply madness.
Okay, we're back. Main Event Madness Radio with John Curry, Alfonso Marion. They're going strongly over there on Main Event Madness Radio, giving you a good 2 hours of solid pro wrestling radio every single week, and they're going very, very strongly. I just want to say thank you very much to John Curry and his mate Matt, and hanging out with me and doing the shows. I did 3 shows and 5 nights for WrestleMania weekend, and they were great company, and it was really good to finally put a face to the name when it comes to John Curry and his team. So yeah, it was a lot of fun. We did a really, really fun show in the hotel room, kind of covering up the WrestleMania weekend festivities. And I tell you what, Eron is going to be going. You're going to be coming next year, buddy. You're going to coming next year to Dallas.
That's
you have
the plan.
To. Yeah. We're going to be getting the travel package. We're going to go all out. You're going to meet Triple H. It's going to be fantastic. For those who are always on the fence about going to WrestleMania, you have to go, especially next year. Dallas, 100,000 strong. It's going to be absolutely off the chain. But if you want to follow us and want to get in touch with the show, follow us on Twitter at Wrestling Outbreak and follow Main Event Madness on Spreaker to stay in touch with all past, present, and future episodes of Wrestling's Rope Break. Plus, as announced, I think it was announced on Main Event Madness Radio this week, Wrestling Rope Break is now available on iHeartRadio. Yes, so all you got to do is download the iHeartRadio app on your phone and search Wrestling's Rope Break. We are there, ready to go. All past, present, and future episodes there for your listening pleasure. Also, like us on Facebook. At facebook.com/wrestlingsropebreak. We have a ton of content coming through there. Not all radio related. We've got a lot of just random Facebook posts, as well as our Pro Wrestling Powerhouse articles that me and Eron write. Obviously, Eron is the editor of ProWrestlingPowerhouse.com. He's writing a lot more articles than I am, but hopefully we'll be getting you back into the swing of things. And yes, there's a lot of ways to get in touch with the show, and we have a website. wrestlingsropebreak.weebly.com. Eron, I imagine that's correct.
Correct.
Yeah. So yeah, that's another way to find us. So yes, Wrestling's Rope Break. So many ways to get in touch with the show. So the Quintessential Podcast for this week, as I discussed before the break, I listened to Talk Is Jericho. We mixed things up this week. It's crazy. We didn't go for JR's podcast. It was very easy considering this week last week he had Shawn Michaels, the legendary Shawn Michaels on. I did listen to that. Definitely worth checking out. Talking about Shawn Michaels' new book. But for this week, Chris Jericho caught up with William Regal. A really eye-opening interview in regards to William Regal's career, how he started in Blackpool, England, working the carnival routes, and then finally getting his shot at WCW. He suffered with a massive substance abuse that I didn't know about for most of his career. Finally got his stuff sorted out when he went to the WWE. Went through the WWE's rehabilitation system, which is like WWE does a lot to help their superstars in regards to rehabilitation. That's always really, really great to hear. But this week, Jericho and Regal brought up some really great points about pro wrestling, and they talked about different styles, and Regal had some really poignant comments about the stereotypes surrounding different styles and how a wrestler should adapt to it. So let's have a listen to what he is talking about this week.
How was it working with those guys, being like the American style? Yeah,
I get a bit.
You didn't like that.
I get eaten up when people go, he's got a different style.
Mm-hmm.
I never had any problems working with fellas that came from that period of time because they all know what they do.
If you can work, you can work.
Yes.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. I used to go all over the world and work with people, literally never spoke to them, couldn't speak the language.
Yes.
If you're basically trained right,
of course,
turn your arm one way, it goes that way.
Yeah.
As you know, when all the luchas came to WCW, who worked with them?
Yeah.
I was the only guy that hadn't been to Mexico that worked with them,
That's right? Yeah.
You worked with them, and obviously, and Dean and Chris, but it was me, right? Because I could figure out. I didn't have to speak to them. Just
international language.
International language. It's just these people don't get trained right, and they can get upset about that. But it's the truth. That never a problem in those days.
So there you go. So there's some interesting kind of comments on wrestling styles and opinions about the stigma attached to I've got a particular style and I can't wrestle, that kind of a style. But Eron, is there any validity to what Regal's talking about here? Is it a matter of people not being trained properly when it comes to meshing different styles in 2015?
I think it has a lot more to do with confidence, as far as, cause obviously you and I are not professional wrestlers. We don't know what it's like to get in there and work. But from what I understand, we talked about styles in the past in this program. I think if you can wrestle, you can wrestle, and there's no.
Yeah, I agree.
There's no real different styles. There are, but I think any style can mix with any style. If you can work, you can work. And I think Regal makes that point of, he hates when people say that, oh, this guy's got this different kind of style, so he's not going to be able to do this. I think if you're a professional wrestler, I think and you love the business enough to where you can adapt on the fly, and I think that's what you've been trained to do. And like Regal said, some of the people that can't do that are people that aren't trained well. So I think it has a lot more to do with the confidence of an individual being able to say that they've been trained the right way, whether it's by whoever, and being able to go into the ring and work with somebody that they're unfamiliar with.
Yeah, I think that whole idea of different styles was much more of a prevalent thing late 80s, early 90s, where you had wrestlers coming from a solely Mexican background and kind of coming onto the international stage via WCW, via WWE, and I think that I think each company kind of pushed the idea of there being different styles, and to a degree, I think when it comes down to wrestling those styles, I think there might be some people who can't do it, and maybe it says a lot about the way people are trained these days. But back then, but now I really feel in 2015 that you look at all these different wrestlers that are coming through, and I think everyone's becoming much more capable to a degree, and having been much more diverse in styles for one particular wrestler. I bring up Lucha Underground straight away, and Brian Cage immediately comes to mind. A massive, big guy. Yuha Nation, another one, kind of bringing these big strongman styles to wrestling, but at the same time being diverse in aerobatics, flips, dives, being able to feed a hurricanrana as well as deliver one for their size. I think we're seeing many more examples of people becoming diverse in a lot more varied styles, not just being, I am a luchador, I am a North American wrestler, I am a German wrestler. I think those days are kind of gone for the most part. But I think that the universal language of being able to wrestle multiple styles is still definitely prevalent. I think New Japan Pro Wrestling is a good example as well as that. Wrestle Kingdom 9, every match was different, but it wasn't all just a completely Japanese style of wrestling. Do you know what I mean? I think it shows you that this whole roster of New Japan Pro wrestlers actually can do all these different styles, and I think it's a matter of that. Okay, so part 2 of this interview that we want to talk about is the definition of a good worker. What does it take to be a really good worker here in 2015? And what does Regal really think about that, considering the career that he's had? So let's have a listen to it.
Because I never bought into that, all that, who's a good worker and all that. To me, good workers are people who draw money. Mm-hmm. I've never drawn a penny. Good workers are people who can connect with your audience, right? And that's all it is. The rest of it's a bonus. Some people don't have to do anything. They can do the exact opposite of the right things to do, but it still works good for them. That's what good work. They've outworked everybody, right? It's the whole concept of what working is. The real term of working is to engage your audience and to draw emotion out of them and
to connect with the crowd.
And that's what it is. So we sort of get carried away in our job.
Okay, so Eron, my question's really simple this time around. In your humble opinion, what does it take to be a good worker in 2015?
See, Regal's definition of a worker is different than mine. Mine is somebody that can just go out there and work a match and perform good enough as far as putting on a good match. His definition is more of being able to captivate a crowd and do that. And I'm really shocked at the fact that he's able to kind of distance himself from himself almost, and say that he isn't a good worker, that he hasn't drawn a penny, and he's able to admit that. I mean, it's pretty big for a professional wrestler to be able to say that. But I think William Regal's a good worker. I granted, I've never gone to a show to see William Regal, but whenever he comes on my screen, I'm always entertained by him, and he's able to captivate me by his in-ring work. So in that sense, he is a good worker, and he almost contradicts himself a little bit as far as being able to captivate an audience, because he captivates me. I'm sitting there, I'm very engaged, but yet he calls himself not a worker. So it's kind of a double-edged sword, and I think it all just stems back to what each person's definition of a worker is, or a good worker, you know?
Yeah. See, like the minute I think about a good worker, I mean, I think a lot of the stuff that Regal says rings true. I mean, you have to be at a certain level, and you have to, like, yeah. Do you define good workers by the money that they've drawn, by their name being on marquees? It sounds like Regal's kind of using that as an example. Like, you need to be the top guy. You need to be that. They're the really good workers. He's partly right, I guess. Good workers for me. Not everyone's a good worker. Not everyone in WWE is a good worker either. For me, it's not a definition of just getting through a match and it being good or average. Like there's a handful of good workers. Daniel Bryan, Sheamus, Wade Barrett's a good. They're all good workers, but I think at the end of the day, the definition between a good worker and a main event level star is exactly that. You don't have to be technically proficient or have a certain skill set to get over that. As long as you're able to connect with the audience in any way, shape, or form and able to draw money off it, isn't that the definition of a good worker? Because you are working the crowd to the point where you're actually making money off it.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I think that there's maybe the word you're looking for is what separates a good worker from a great worker. You know, Hulk Hogan, Cena, those guys are great workers, but you know, guys like William Regal, they're good workers. They're entertaining, they're interesting, they're good wrestlers. So it's like I said, it all stems back to what your definition of a good worker is, and for Regal, it's guys that can draw. You know. Yeah,
I agree. So that's the Quintessential Podcast for this week. There's a lot of interesting points that I brought up before we started this in regards to William Regal's interview with Chris Jericho. Really good insight to Regal himself, his opinions on the business, which I think are very, very merited considering where he's been, who he's trained with, who he's wrestled. So great stuff. These podcasts are getting better and better every single week, and somehow they've been going for like almost 2 years. So they still have fresh interviews, a lot of good opinions. If you haven't downloaded your podcasting app on your phone, do it now and get JR's interview, get Jericho's interview, and Goldberg's. There's a lot of other guys there, so definitely check it out. Mm-hmm. Okay, so this is the debut edition of the Monday Night Wars Regrilled. We're going to try something new for this for the rest of this year. We're going to continue it as long as we can. The Monday Night Wars. We've got a lot of episodes that are on the WWE Network just sitting there that haven't been compared with fresh eyes, and we're going to be doing it every single week for you. We're going to have a new episode of Raw, a new episode of Nitro, head to head. We're going to watch them together, and we're going to give you our opinions on which episode won the war for that week. So we start off with an edition of Monday Night Raw from January 8th, 1996, and I have to say, from the get-go, both shows really emphasize a different kind of feel. Both of them do. We start off with Raw here. It really felt like the running gag through this whole thing was that we're going to make fun of WCW, and we're going to do it purposely, in your face. We're going to make segments out of it. And, of course, we can't escape talking about ridiculing WCW segments without mentioning Billionaire Ted, Scheme Gene, and the Huckster? Is that what his name is?
Yeah, I think that's what his name is.
This was the main event of the show, Aaron.
Yeah.
What the hell's going on? How is anyone finding this entertaining? First off, like we know because we've seen the documentaries, we've followed the storylines, and we know that this is part of their plan to backstab WCW. But if you didn't know what was going on, how could anyone find this entertaining?
I don't know. Like you said, this was the main event of the show. It was a big skit of guys pretending to be Billionaire Ted and all, Scheme Gene or whatever their names are. Yeah. It was ridiculous. It really was. And like you said, Nitro did some of the similar things, but they they were very subtle about their digs at WWE or WWF at the point,
very
where WWE was very in your face, we are making fun of WCW, and they made it very clear. So it's I felt like it was very second rate, almost very Bush League, and they conveniently leave these parts out of those Monday Night War documentaries, and they just it seemed like. When WWE paints this picture of the Monday Night Wars, right, they make it seem like WCW was, always looking behind their backs and trying to dig WWE and chop them at the knee and always trying to push them down. Or it was really the other way around, where as far as this week is concerned, at least.
Yeah, absolutely.
WWE is very, very deliberate on trying to bash WCW as much as possible. I mean, they even had a joke about steroids, especially in that time period when Vince McMahon was getting or was about to get prosecuted for steroid, that whole big scandal he had with the federal court on the steroid thing. So, it was just really, really awkward and cringeworthy.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this episode of Monday Night Raw, we were kind of focusing on the road to the Royal Rumble. Yeah. The Royal Rumble in which Shawn Michaels would win the Royal Rumble for, I believe, the second time in his career. And the emphasis on the show was kind of building up this anticipation of this press conference. It sounded like he was going to retire, but of course, doing the whole babyface heroic thing, and Shawn Michaels comes back and says that he's definitely going to be part of the Royal Rumble. I thought this was quite well done. There was a lot more to talk about in this show. We had the debut, the incoming debut of Vader. Some really cheesy yet kind of effective promo videos on Vader training in the Rocky Mountains, and for that time period, it was fine. We had the debut of the Austin the Ringmaster, but then we had these gimmicks that would last for a long time after 1996 that showed that WWE had a long way to go until they actually found their foothold as being, in tune with what the audience wanted, and that is Double J, Jeff Jarrett. This was nails on a chalkboard bad. Okay, so the whole build up for this is that he's got an Intercontinental title match against Razor Ramon, but he's this country singer, Double J, with the roadie, who is the Road Dogg actually, who would become later on the Road Dogg Jesse James. The whole segment was building up to him singing or something. And his gimmick was that he never ever sang, but he was a country singer. Eron, they ran with this gimmick for at least by accident we actually ended up watching a 1995 episode of Raw, thinking that the Monday Night War started back then. Well, they didn't, but I had to watch that. Eron, you made me watch that episode, and Double J was on that episode too. It was even worse. Yeah. And now here's me thinking that I remember Double J when I started watching wrestling. It was in 1998, with the terrible tights and the stupid glasses and the fireworks and his stupid hat and his dumb catchphrases. Oh, and I just very quickly, I love how they build. This is the first thing you see on this episode. This is the thing to hook the audience in. Wait later on when I do my singing debut. Oh, can't wait. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I can't believe how long they went with this gimmick. And, it just goes to show that time period, even in this entire episode, we saw Isaac Yankem, the dentist. There's so many different gimmicks for each guy that it was. I can't imagine being entertained in that time period. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what I would have done.
There's tons of examples of WWE still being behind in the times, but in this regard, a very lackluster edition of Raw. It was positives. It was climaxed by the retaping of an In Your House pay-per-view main event between Bret Hart and the British Bulldog for the WWE Championship. That was great. That was a great match. From I think it was Ground Zero. I've forgotten the pay-per-view. I've forgotten what it was.
In Your House.
Something.
Yeah.
Beware the Dog.
Yeah.
I think that's that. Beware the Dog. I think that's the one. I'm sure the audience will catch me up on that. Great match. I mean, I think it was probably the last great Bulldog match that he would have in his career. And I guess at least they kind of finished the episode off slightly with that. So, but we're moving to Monday Night Nitro. And this is where things kind of like, you could see the chalk and cheese kind of analogies kind of coming to fruition. Aaron, give us a rundown. What do you think about this episode of Monday Nitro?
I think it's funny because what I ended up doing was I watched Raw first and then Nitro. So
yeah, I did the same.
Maybe
Actually, we did it in opposite, actually. I watched Nitro first and you watched Raw, if I remember correctly.
Maybe I should do it the other way around next time, because I felt like I was watching a completely, like, just it felt like amateur versus professional. Like, Raw was very recorded and choppy, and it was a lot of recaps and previews.
Absolutely.
Where Nitro was high energy, it was live. It had just good wrestling, good stories, great segments. It was great from top to bottom. You had the live energy from Heenan, Bischoff, and McMichael at the commentary table.
Enthusiasm. They're so enthusiastic about the product.
Yep.
They can't wait to show you the main event. They can't wait to show you the line of talent they've got lined up. They're just like, you feel jacked up watching it.
Yeah, and I always like the transitions they have, where they just go from the ring to the front of the entrance ramps for interviews. With this week we had Gene Okerlund with Sting and Lex Luger.
Great.
So I just love those quick transitions into that interview and then right out, and it was just, everything about this show screamed just professionalism. I loved the interaction with Regal and Eddie Guerrero, their match. I was in awe of William Regal and his ability in the ring. I mean, just 10 times better than anything else on that show, because he's just I every time I watch William Regal wrestle or Steven Regal, I just kind of sit there and go, how is this guy not won a world title? Like, I just don't see how not once he hasn't been put in that situation, whether it's in WCW or WWE. I mean, it's just so great.
I guess the only disadvantage for the show was that for a brand new audience member like myself trying to catch up on what the storylines are, I wasn't exactly sure of what was going on. I got some hints of there being dissension between the Dungeon of Doom and Hulk Hogan. The Dungeon of Doom being Kevin Sullivan, the Zodiac, and the Giant. The main event for the show was classic old school wrestling. Hulk Hogan and the Macho Man Randy Savage, the Mega Powers coming together again to wrestle Arn Anderson and Ric Flair. And the main event kind of played into the storylines I just mentioned. There's a big question over why the Zodiac didn't attack and finish off Hogan and Savage after they interfered in the main event. So there's a lot of questions kind of going over there, but I just didn't know exactly what I should be investing my time in. It was a little bit hard to follow, so maybe that's something that I don't think is going to get better with WCW, because as we know the history of WCW. They got worse and worse with keeping storylines continuous and thought-provoking, but it immediately shows you that WCW was really onto something with the structure of their shows. The talent pool was amazing. We got Brian Pillman escorting Chris Benoit to the ring to wrestle Alex Wright. Yes, Alex Wright sucked. He sucked back in 1996. He sucks in 2015 in retrospect. But god damn it, Chris Benoit and Brian Pillman are awesome. And that's the first thing you see. You see this high intensity kind of performer in the ring, just absolutely destroying Alex Wright, the skinny guy. It's like, yeah, I like this stuff. And then, of course, as you say, William Regal versus Eddie Guerrero. It's like, wow, cool. And just these matches, the match quality just absolutely puts WWE to shame. And the signs are there. And at the same time, we get some signs of Hulk Hogan, getting booed here and there, getting the John Cena kind of treatment. Then, of course, we know what would happen later in 1996 when two WWE guys would eventually jump ship to WCW. So I think we're unanimous in this situation. Nitro won the war for this week. I think this is definitely one of the weeks, one of the 83 weeks in a row where Nitro beat Raw on the ratings, and really, it's so plain to see why. Austin's just debuted in the WWE. We'll see how that goes. The ringmaster. Let's see how bad the ringmaster gimmick was every single week. We're going to actually live that with you guys every single week on Wrestling's Red Break. But yeah, Nitro wins the war this week. We're going to see what happens with the Dungeon of Doom and the Four Horsemen and Savage, Hogan next week, as well as the Royal Rumble for 1996. We'll see how that goes. So yeah, a lot to look forward to. That is the Monday Night Wars re-grilled. Okay, so that's all we have time for tonight. Thank you so much for joining us wherever you may be all around the world. And Eron, I honestly hope you have an awesome rest of your week, and we'll definitely catch you next week.
Absolutely, and everyone, I hope everyone enjoys Extreme Rules this Sunday.
Exactly, yes. Now, Extreme Rules. We're going to be doing a special Extreme Rules post-show recap. We'll hopefully get up to air on Monday morning, maybe a little bit earlier. We'll see what happens. Just stay tuned to facebook.com/wrestlingsropebreak. At least get one of us, maybe me, maybe Eron, maybe both of us. He's hoping at least one of us is going to be doing it. We're going to do a match-by-match breakdown, so lots to look forward to in that regards. But our normal show, Wrestling's Rope Break, will be on Saturday, 9 p.m. Eastern next week. As I said, facebook.com/wrestlingsropebreak. Stay in tune with any changes that might happen with the scheduling. But for the meantime, enjoy Extreme Rules, and we'll talk to you again after a while.